Everything's changed.
We are humanity's last hope. Load up.
I've been waiting for you.
Kyle Reese is sent back to the year 1984 in order to ensure the safety of Sarah Connor and ensure humanity's victory against the artificial intelligence known as Skynet. But in the middle of the process, the timeline gets fractured, and the past he returns to is not the one he expected.
The good.
Time travel has always been a staple of the Terminator franchise, and I think I can say here they use it pretty well. Not only does this create more potential for the franchise's narrative, as well as giving us fresh portrayals of familiar characters, but it also deals with themes about time travel, specifically about coping with a life that seems to be ruled by the fact that you have this knowledge of the past, the future, whichever time they're messing with. And I think that creates some good internal conflict among the characters. This movie uses a few well-executed plot twists, a bunch of things that are already familiar to the Terminator franchise, and a few new things in the mix as well, to create good tension and to keep escalating the conflict. Then there's this movie's title. Since I don't do spoilers in these videos, I'm not going to tell you why it's called Genisys, but suffice to say, not only do they have a good reason for calling it Genisys, but they also have a good reason for spelling it wrong. The original Terminator, in a few ways, resembles a horror movie, with the role of nearly unbeatable monster being filled by the Terminators. And in a lot of ways, I think that feeling is well retained in this movie. I also have to give recognition to the actors of this movie, especially Arnold Schwarzenegger. Overall, the whole cast did a pretty solid job. As a Doctor Who fan, I was really happy to see Matt Smith playing a part in this movie. But man, Arnold. It may be a shtick that we're very familiar with, but it's a very good shtick, and he still got it. I really liked watching his performance in this movie, and I'm really glad he came back.
The iffy.
Being someone who isn't really huge into Terminator, there are a couple things done with the story in this movie that are a bit controversial, or at least I want to say that they are. I can't really say for sure. I'd like to take the fans' temperature on some of these story changes and see what they think. As most of you know, even though this is technically Terminator 5, this basically takes the original story of Terminator and goes on an alternate timeline, essentially rebooting the series. That being said, once your brain takes in all this new information about this slightly altered Terminator story, the movie starts to become at least partially predictable, though not always in a bad way. Some character interactions in this movie feel just a little bit fabricated. The information discussed is always relevant to the story, and it's very important in regards to how these characters are interacting. But I feel like this element shows up a little bit too much in the movie. It goes just past the amount of time that would have been probably just right for the movie.
The bad.
Even after thinking about it for a little bit, there is one explanation behind a certain plot device in this movie that I think is a little too far-fetched, even for time travel.
The verdict?
As a guy who's only seen the first Terminator movie, but is familiar enough with the rest of the movies and its lore and its characters, I enjoyed watching this movie. It gave me basically exactly what I wanted out of it, and I'm looking forward to more if they decide to make more. This is Detective Steve. Go see this movie so that together we can terminate the box office numbers of the Magic Mike sequel.